Tarthan Station floated on the fringes of the Soulkeeper conduit like a silent emblem of human audacity. Its reinforced mega-allies glinted in the faint starlight, while an unassuming swarm of drones scuttled around its hull, performing the ceaseless inspections that kept the place alive. Within those hardened corridors, scientists pursued the unimaginable, capturing and harnessing the monstrous power of black holes. For centuries, humanity had gazed upon black holes with fear and fascination. Now, Tarthan Station's mission was to harvest their energy for both progress and defense, perhaps even aggression. It was a stark reminder that scientific wonders brought equal measures of promise and peril. Dr. Addison Reyes stood before a pane of observation glass, her eyes fixed on the swirling cosmic funnel, displayed in real time on the multispectrum monitors. She had cultivated the black hole beyond the station's perimeter from a microscopic anomaly artificially created in Tarthan's particle reactor. Decades of incremental research had led humanity to this moment, the ability to birth and stabilize a singularity. Yet Addison knew that controlling it meant walking a tightrope between creation and apocalypse. If the electromagnetic tethers ever snapped or drifted, the entire station and the sector beyond could be devoured in an instant. She remembered her early days as a student at the Overwatch Academy in Earth's orbit. Back then, the notion of taming black holes seemed like sheer fantasy. Professors had lectured on the unattainable energies locked in singularities, enough to fuel entire star systems and possibly unify advanced civilizations. She had listened with wide-eyed wonder, longing to be part of the next cosmic leap forward. Now, standing at the precipice of that dream, she found that her wonder was fused with dread. The singularity that had once existed only in theoretical equations was now stabilized less than 1,000 kilometers from Tarthan's hull. Captain Jonas Argento, commander of the station's security detail, strode into the lab. He was a tall, lean figure, shaped by years of military service and hammered by the rigors of alien engagements. "How does it look?" he asked, gesturing at the swirling projection. His deep-set eyes lingered on Addison, sensing the strain behind her stoic expression. He understood that her brilliance was Tarthan's best hope at corralling the might of the black hole. "The tether fields are strong," Addison replied softly, "but we're nearing the point where the mass density spikes. As we feed the black hole more matter, it becomes hungrier. We'll need to keep the vacuum feed precisely calibrated. Otherwise, a tear in the electromagnetic net would be catastrophic." Jonas nodded. "I've seen weapon prototypes. They want us to convert gravitational waves into destructive pulses that can cripple enemy fleets. If something goes wrong, well, we can't let that happen." Addison sighed, turning away. "I know, but the potential for peaceful energy uses is unparalleled. Giant energy arcs that can power entire colonies, advances in astrophysics that can help us unravel the cosmos. Let's not forget why we're really here." "I won't forget," Jonas murmured. He half smiled, though it didn't reach his eyes. "But politics won't wait for perfect solutions. Command wants the black hole-based gravitational cannon operational in a few weeks. They're getting pressured by an alien alliance on the outskirts, and they see this as a deterrent." High Counselor Vencroft, an imposing figure clad in the silver-trimmed uniform of the Unified Earth Directorate, arrived with 2 aides trailing behind. He carried himself like a man accustomed to shaping policy from a vantage of power. Surveying the lab, he offered Addison a stiff nod. "Dr. Reyes, your progress is commendable. We hope you understand the significance of what you're doing." Addison forced a smile. "I do, Counselor. We're on schedule for the prototypes, but scientific breakthroughs can't be forced on arbitrary timelines. We stand at the threshold of something we've never fully controlled before." "Yes, well," Vencroft snapped, "billions in research credits have gone into this. You'll find a way to exceed expectations." He paused a moment, his expression softening slightly. "Earth's resources are stretched thin. Rival powers are creeping through the galaxy. If we harness this black hole, we can extend peace on our terms." Don't lose sight of that." Jonas remained silent but bristled at the counselor's tone. He had seen enough posturing by Earth's government over the years to know that talk of peaceful deterrence was often only the prologue to more conflict. But he held his tongue, focusing on Addison's reaction. She returned her attention to the swirling vortex on the screen. "Understood," she said quietly, swallowing any protest. "We'll continue to refine the system." Harthen Station's labyrinthine corridors hummed with activity. Engineers lugging superconductors, technicians calibrating quantum sensors, and scientists feeding energy-laced matter into the black hole's event horizon. The feeds constantly updated, lines of data crawling across monitors to confirm that the singularity remained stable under the station's electromagnetic lash. Every hour carried the weight of a lifetime's work, because the slightest miscalculation could unleash cosmic hell. Deep inside the station's G-Force lab, Dr. Masita Rourke oversaw the fine-tuning of the gravitational cannon. She incorporated Addison's advanced singularity data into her own design. Rourke was outfitting the system with a wave amplifier, a massive ring of photonic crystals that would resonate with the black hole's gravitational pulses. If successful, the device would channel and direct those waves outward like a monstrous tidal surge, unstoppable by conventional shielding. She wore protective goggles and frowned at the readouts, meticulously adjusting the shape of the resonance field. Jonas stepped in to observe, his presence authorized for all restricted areas. He watched in fascination as the wave simulations danced across the screens. "If these pulses are as powerful as the tests indicate, we can wipe out entire war fleets," he remarked. "Is there any limit to their destructive potential? The gravitational frequency can shatter battleship armor half a solar system away," Rourke said. "We're even seeing resonance effects that could disable FTL drives at greater distances. But controlling this can't be done through trial and error. One misfire and we might tear ourselves apart. The black hole is a hungry beast. You can't feed it too much." Up on the command deck, Addison navigated a labyrinth of data streams. The station's sensors had detected unusual gravitational echoes from outside the conduit, possibly the signature of an incoming alien incursion. She typed furiously, analyzing the peaks and troughs of the waveforms. A sinking feeling gnawed at her. If this was an incursion, the director would push even harder for a demonstration of power. Jonas joined her on the command deck. "We're picking up faint transmissions from the outskirts. Our long-range arrays show movement near Uranus 2. It could be a convoy of unknown ships, or it could be Vodaran scouts." Addison's hands trembled slightly at the console. "So this is how it begins. I sense the Directorate wants us to be ready to showcase the cannon." The overhead lights flickered, the result of the massive energy draw from the black hole's containment fields. Addison exhaled, imagining black waves of cosmic night unraveling everything she knew. If just one support array malfunctioned, she recalled the endless calculations and late nights sifting through data that described the sheer scale of a singularity's gravitational well. Humans had so often regarded black holes as cosmic vacuum cleaners, devouring entire stars. Now they aimed to use that devouring force for progress or annihilation. Alarms blared across the station, a shrill siren that reverberated off the cold metallic walls. Addison's eyes darted to the console. The black hole's mass had spiked unexpectedly. Frantically, she typed in override commands, trying to shut down the matter feed. The readouts informed her that a surge in the tether lines caused the black hole to gulp more energy than intended. She shouted into her comm, "Containment breach potential. Shuttering the injection valves now." Engineers scrambled to their stations, sweat dripping as they stabilized the net around the singularity. The electromagnetic fields flared white-hot, straining to keep the black hole from swallowing the station itself. Jonas barked orders to the security teams, ensuring the highest priority was keeping Addison safe. Without her guidance, the station's delicate interplay between creation and destruction would be lost. After a few harrowing minutes, the alarms died down, replaced by the heavy hush of exhausted relief. Addison sagged against her console, deeply relieved that the meltdown was averted. "This is exactly the risk I've been warning everyone about," she said to the exhausted engineers around her. "We need to slow down. Pushing the black hole too hard or feeding it too quickly is madness." Counselor Vencroft's voice crackled over the station-wide comm. "Status report, Dr. Reyes. Is the black hole contained, and how soon can the cannon be prepared for a test fire? We may need it sooner than expected." Jonas looked at Addison with unspoken empathy, realizing how the weight of the entire directorate's ambition was crushing her. But Addison regained her composure. "It's contained," she said into the open call. "We'll have a full system check done within a day, but a live test needs to be done carefully, with stable conditions. If we rush, we risk total catastrophe." Pencroft's tone was sharp. "You have your orders, Doctor. The approaching threat is real. We don't have the luxury of playing it safe. Prepare a demonstration." Silence followed as Addison set her jaw in frustration. The rest of the team slumped at their stations, well aware that their fate was tethered to the station's monstrous captive. Outside, invisible waves of distorted space-time rippled from the black hole, a cosmic predator leashed by human technology. For now. When Addison was finally able to take a break from the chaos, she sought solitude in her private quarters. Simple furnishings offered a pale reflection of Earth's comfort: a small desk, a fold-out bed, and a single porthole revealing the starry expanse. She collapsed onto her bunk, eyes drawn to the swirling lights outside. The knowledge that she was directly responsible for taming a cosmic singularity weighed on her heart. Her mother's words echoed in her mind. True progress must balance courage and caution. Here, the scale was dangerously tilted. A faint chime broke her reverie. Jonas entered with a quiet knock. "Figured you could use some company," he said gently, his customary formality replaced by genuine warmth. He handed her a sealed package of tea, a rare commodity these days. "I had to pull rank to get that from the station's rations." She accepted it with a grateful smile. "You always seem to know what I need." For a moment, Addison let the tension slip away. As they sipped the warm liquid, Jonas studied her carefully, as though weighing whether to voice something delicate. "They'll test the cannon soon," he said finally. "Are we really ready?" She stared into her cup. "We might never be fully ready. But the directorate doesn't seem to care. The station is an experiment in extremes, and we're all part of it. If we get it wrong, we risk more than just ourselves." Jonas placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We'll see it through," he said softly, "no matter what." The test came sooner than expected. A coded message arrived revealing that the unidentified convoy was indeed an armed Voteran fleet advancing toward Earth's holdings. When Bencroft ordered the demonstration, Addison had scant hours to finalize computations for the gravitational cannon. She supervised the crew as they guided the black hole's energy into the ringed resonator. Sparks danced across the lab as the photonic crystals glowed with stolen cosmic fury. The engineers triple-checked the structural integrity of the wave amplifier, knowing any cracks would be their last mistake. Deep in the bowels of the station, Addison's voice crackled over the speakers. "All stations, prepare for gravitational wave discharge. On my mark, shut down all non-essential energy draws to ensure stable generation." She glanced at Jonas, who stood by her side at the master console, a silent pillar of strength in this sea of swirling data. When she pressed a firing command, a surge of power trembled through the station's structures. Time seemed to slow as the resonator ring shimmered, capturing the black hole's gravitational waves and shaping them into a directed beam. The hum built into a roar, and in the next instant, the beam shot outward through the reinforced emitter array. A wave of warped space-time rippled from Harthen Station, crossing the void at near-luminal speeds. Hundreds of kilometers away, an uninhabited asteroid served as the test target. The gravitational wave struck its jagged surface, instantly cracking it into countless shards. Sensor readings showed secondary fractures forming in the asteroid's core before it collapsed under its own stress. crumbling into debris that spread outward in all directions. Cheers erupted around the control deck, but Addison remained tense. Everything had gone perfectly, and that terrified her more than failure. Vencroft arrived in a flurry of self-satisfaction. "A resounding success, Dr. Reyes," he declared, even before the final sensory data came through. "We have our ultimate weapon. The Voteran fleet will think twice before challenging us now." Addison tried to remain diplomatic. "Yes, Counselor, the demonstration was effective, but we must be careful. The black hole's appetite is ever growing. Each time we fire the cannon, that mass feed fluctuates. We have to maintain equilibrium." Vencroft shrugged dismissively. "You're the expert. Fine-tune the details. But let's continue to refine the destructive potential. If we can project that wave over greater distances, we might be able to take out entire fleets in a single shot." Jonas exchanged troubled looks with Addison, sensing her anxiety ratcheting higher. The demonstration had proven the system worked, but at any moment, it could become an instrument of unstoppable devastation. Over the following days, Earth's directorate hammered the station with more demands, fueling Addison's distress. She turned her attention to stabilizing the black hole, enlisting Rourke and the engineering teams to retune the matter feed. If they overfed the singularity, it would grow too large to harness. If they underfed it, the gravitational wave output would be insufficient to repel the looming threat. One evening, Addison and Jonas were called to the station's war room, a cold chamber lined with holographic projectors. There, a rotating image of the Voteran ships drifted through the air. Counselor Vencroft stood at the head of the table, addressing a gathering of captains and strategists. "We have confirmed intelligence that the Voterans are massing near the Epsilon Belt. With our new gravitational weapon, we can either deter them or cripple their approach. Therefore, leadership has decided that Hartham Station will carry out a live demonstration on a portion of the fleet if they cross the boundary." Startled murmurs filled the chamber. Jonas stepped forward. "Counselor, do we have a diplomatic route? Hostilities with the Voterans haven't escalated to full-blown war for decades." Vencroft's gaze flicked toward him, steely. "Diplomacy has already been attempted. They either fail to respond or send cryptic messages. We won't wait for them to strike first." Addison pursed her lips. "This is a dangerous escalation. The black hole weapon shouldn't be used lightly. A single shot might incite a war we can't afford." His expression hardened. "Your moral qualms are noted, Dr. Reyes, but the Directorate's stance is clear. Demonstration, if necessary, on actual targets. Prepare for it." That night, Addison's mind churned with conflicting loyalties. Her duty to the Directorate, her desire for scientific advancement, and her moral obligation to preserve life and cosmic stability. Jonas stayed close to her, a firm presence in a storm of politics and cosmic hazards. Their conversation was subdued, the words weighed down by the knowledge that they might soon shatter an unknown number of lives with the pull of a lever. Days later, the Voteran fleet approached the boundary line. Full alert was declared on Hartham Station. Weapons arrays were primed, sensors attuned to detect every nuance of the approaching vessels. Addison worked tirelessly with Rourke and her team, calibrating the gravitational wave generator. Her heart pounded as she thought about what might happen if the shot was fired. The black hole had grown in mass, spurred by repeated test firings. Harnessing it was more delicate than ever. Finally, the dreaded moment arrived. Counselor Vencroft sent the coded order. "Fire a warning shot near the Votaran lead vessel. Show them our power, but do not destroy." Addison's breath caught in her throat. Even a warning gravitational wave could be lethal if miscalculated. She took a steadying breath, her fingers dancing across the console. The station lights momentarily dimmed as the black hole's energies were channeled into the resonator ring. Jonas gave a tight nod of encouragement. "Steady," he whispered as Addison initiated the sequence. A focused beam of gravimetric force blazed out into space, targeting empty coordinates adjacent to the Votaran ships. The shot was meant to pass close enough to rattle them without causing direct damage. Time crawled as readouts lit up, showing the wave traveling across the vacuum. The beam grazed the lead ship's silhouette, and for several seconds, no one breathed. At last, sensors confirmed the wave had turned aside, distorting space-time near the Votaran line without making a direct strike. It was a textbook demonstration of controlled might. A hush fell across the station as everyone waited for the Votaran's response. Then came the worst possibility. A sudden spike in the black hole's mass feed rates erupted on Addison's console. The electromagnetic tethers flickered, overstressed by the abrupt power draw. Panicking, Addison hammered out emergency protocols, but it was too late. A partial containment field collapsed. In a split second, the black hole sphere of influence expanded. Out in space, the beam's trajectory wavered. Instead of harmlessly curving away, the wave lurched directly into one of the Votaran vessels, a mid-sized cruiser near the edge of the formation. The ship was caught in the gravitational storm, buckling under the tremendous forces. Terrified gasps rang out across the station's control deck as they watched the cruiser implode, twisted and folded until it vanished into cosmic dust. A stunned silence pervaded the war room and the command deck. Counselor Vencroft's jaw tightened as the horrifying realization sank in. A warning shot had just obliterated a Votaran vessel. Addison felt tears burn at the corners of her eyes, her hand still trembling on the console. Jonas placed a hand over hers, silently offering strength. In a chaotic flurry, the Votaran fleet dispersed, some ships retreating, others maneuvering into battle formation. Addison glanced at Jonas, heartbreak etched across her features. "We've done it now," she whispered. "We've given them every reason to strike back." Vancroft's voice rang over the comm, forced calm tinted with desperation. "Prepare the cannon for another shot, Dr. Reyes. If they attack, we must respond decisively." Addison's eyes blazed with righteous anger. She spun to face the counselor's projection. "Then we see? We just lost partial containment. The black hole's unstable. Another shot might cause a full breach. Do you want that on your conscience?" Vencroft's face hardened. "We do what must be done. Prepare it, or I'll have someone else do it. We won't be at the mercy of an alien fleet." Jonas stepped between them, addressing Richards, the station's second in command. "Counselor, with respect, our priority must be to restabilize the singularity. Threatening the galaxy with an out-of-control black hole is not a defense. It's suicide." In the background, Addison worked feverishly. She initiated emergency retethering protocols, redirecting power from all non-essential systems to the field emitters. The black hole pulsed, sullen and ravenous. She didn't want to think about how many more containment lines might fail if the system was ramped up for another weapon discharge. If that happened, the vortex would grow exponentially, unstoppable. While tensions spiked between Vencroft and Jonas, Addison received an incoming transmission from a Votaran emissary. The alien face flickered onto her console. A tall, elegant figure with dark, shimmering eyes. The voice, rendered in halting Terran standard, was tense, yet authoritative. "You have killed many of our people in an unprovoked assault. We stand ready to defend ourselves, but we do not wish total destruction. Stand down, or we will destroy your station." Addison's eyes widened. She relayed the message to the counselor, her voice shaking. "They're calling for de-escalation. We still have a chance to avoid total war." Vencroft's response was immediate. "Tell them we will not hesitate to retaliate if they cross the boundary again." He motioned to cut the channel, but Jonas quickly interjected. "Let's talk with them, counselor. We need time to fix the station, to re-establish containment. Negotiating might save all our lives." For a taut moment, Addison watched as Vencroft wrestled with his own pride and fear. Finally, the counselor nodded grudgingly. "Very well. Begin negotiations. But keep the cannon fully operational. I want them to know we're not weak." The next hours stretched painfully as Addison orchestrated continuous restabilization efforts while Jonas and a small team negotiated with the Votaran envoy. The talks were tense, with the Votaran side demanding reparations disclaimers, and an immediate end to further weapons testing. Jonas offered sincere regret for the cruiser's destruction, attributing it to miscalculation rather than malevolent intent. Echoes of cosmic tension filled every corridor on Harthan Station, and Addison leaned heavily on Rourke's help to maintain the black hole's snapping electromagnetic tethers. At last, a fragile truce formed. The Voteran fleet withdrew to a safe distance, holding position just outside the boundary line. In exchange, Harthan Station ceased all further test firings of the black hole weapon, pending a formal resolution. Councillor Vencroft, with some reluctance, accepted the lull in hostilities. Meanwhile, Addison and her team tackled the pressing issue of black hole containment, which had become precarious. Over time, days that felt like lifetimes, they managed to scale back the singularity, siphoning off some of its mass through specialized particle streams. One day, Addison found Jonas in the airlock chamber, examining the protective suits. "I'm heading out with a drone escort to place new tether beacons," he explained. "We need to ensure the field's alignment from outside the station. I could use a steady hand." She joined him without hesitation. The pair ventured into space, tethered by lifelines to Harthan's hull. Tiny thrusters propelled them to strategic stations, where they installed fresh anchor nodes for the electromagnetic field. The black hole shimmered in the near distance, a mesmerizing swirl of absolute darkness ringed by warping starlight. Each time Addison approached it, she felt both awe and terror. Yet placing these anchors felt like bridging a connection with the cosmic unknown, trying to channel the destructive wonder of a black hole toward a more constructive future. On their return, Addison received a final comm from the Votaran envoy, expressing that negotiations were moving forward. For the first time since the disastrous warning shot, she allowed herself to feel hope. Perhaps they had swerved away from the brink. The black hole's destructive power might be regulated, harnessed for beneficial energy, and used sparingly as a last resort weapon. No simple solution, but it was a path away from extinction and toward cautious cooperation. Councillor Vencroft's ambitions persisted. Though subdued, he spoke of continuing research but with more oversight. Addison realized that Harthan Station had become a testament to the narrow line humanity walked, an apex species armed with cosmic powers it barely understood. She gazed at the stabilized singularity on the main screen, and thought of the centuries of curiosity and desire that led humans to capture a piece of night incarnate. It was still dangerous, still feral in its potential, but it was also an opportunity to learn, adapt, and maybe even unify. In the final analysis, Addison believed that the black hole could become a source of almost limitless energy, enough to jumpstart new colonies, feed the engine of scientific discoveries, and perhaps, in time, forge alliances with alien species. Yet, power always tempted exploitation, and a black hole held unimaginable sway. She resolved to remain on Harthan Station, directing research on safe harnessing techniques and forging diplomatic channels to ensure that weaponizing it remained a solemn last-ditch measure. Jonas stayed too, commanding security in the spirit of guardianship rather than conquest. Months later, the station bustled with new life. Diplomats came and went, forging fragile peace treaties. Engineers refined the energy extraction modules to power entire sectors back on Earth. The gravitational cannon's firing levers stayed locked under multiple keys, reserved for emergent threats only. And Addison Reyes stood, day after day, in front of the glass pane that flickered with the cosmic swirl of the black hole, feeling as though she was cradling a star's ghost. She followed its hypnotic dance with both reverence and responsibility. In that hushed realm between wonder and fear, Harthan Station nudged humanity one step closer to a new era. Black holes were no longer just monstrous shadows in the void. They were catalysts for hope and caution alike. Jonas often joined Addison there, the two of them gazing out, reflecting on their improbable duty. If humankind could tame gravity's darkest well, perhaps it could also learn the humility to wield such power wisely. They stood on the edge of gravity itself, uncertain and inspired, knowing that every future step would test the limits of both their technology and their conscience.